I love going to the movies. It's so much fun. I can go with friends, family, or sometimes I'll just go by myself. And so far, I'd say 2022 has been a pretty good year for movies. And I say that even though I still haven't seen everything everywhere all at once. But there's one thing that me and other people have noticed. Movies rely on nostalgia. Nostalgia is a powerful thing where you're shown something you know or that you're fond of from the past and then it's modernized so movie studios can make money off people who grew up on the content they're repackaging now. This isn't always a bad thing. I mean, look at how much fun Top Gun Maverick was. But then you look at other franchises like Jurassic World and Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts and the MCU constantly churning out content and remakes and biopics and all that. It is a lot. But what if I told you there was a movie that got it all right back in 2011? It was funny, it had the same old characters and fun new ones, and the movie knew how to balance them, and it had a heart, feeling like a movie, not a product. That movie is The Muppets. The Muppets movie in 2011 is unironically great. It's cute, it's funny, it's got nice musical numbers, and everyone loves the Muppets. So let's dive deeper into what made Muppets 2011 such a great success and an effective use of nostalgia. Also, thank you guys for 50 subscribers. A lot of times when a movie is remade or old characters are brought back, studios feel the need to spice things up and make them more modern. Most of the time, this results in old people writing what they think young people talk like, because it makes them more groovy and down with the kids. It almost never works. Just look at Ralph Breaks the Internet. Referencing modern things is not funny. You actually need to put in a bit of effort. That being said, the Muppets movie is so funny. I do not remember it being this funny, and I laughed way more than I expected. This movie has bad pun comedy, it has fourth wall comedy, it has clever comedy, it has physical comedy. Some of my favorite jokes are when Kermit shows up, and his silhouette is bathed in a bright light, and there's a chorus over his entrance, then you realize it's just a chorus bus driving by with headlights on. A similar joke is done earlier, when Amy Adams is singing a song and it looks like it's raining, but it's actually just a guy spraying the window with a hose. There's a bit where Jack Black is in Animal's anger management class and starts beating everyone up. Then later on there's a hilarious bit where the Muppets kidnap Jack Black and Fozzie says this hilarious line. What's more illegal, briefly inconveniencing Jack Black or destroying the Muppets? There's a funny fourth wall joke where Gonzo causes an explosion but we don't actually see it. So Fozzie goes, "That was an expensive looking explosion. I can't believe we had that in the budget." There's a joke where Amy Adams reads a thesaurus and lists off activities she did using different words for alone. It's great. It's hard to think of other things to say about comedy because it's so subjective and other people find different things funny, but this movie has so many different kinds of comedy, and it doesn't need to modernize its jokes or tear down the characters. Comedy is subjective, but in my mind, just letting the Muppets be the Muppets works perfectly fine. One thing this movie adds to the Muppets is that the movie is a musical. Now, the Muppets are not new to musicals by any means, but I still think it's cool that this movie adds original songs and choreography, as well as including Muppet classic songs, like Kermit and Miss Piggy's duet. It's a good way to balance the nostalgia with new ideas. Kermit and Piggy's duet doesn't feel like the studio going, "Hey, look at this song you like. Here it is, now buy our product." It actually holds a really strong place in the story, as the Muppets need a big hit to raise enough money before midnight. As for the original songs, they're all fun. Even the worst song, Texas Rap, is campy as hell. Life's a Happy Song is a fun opener, and I'm a sucker for when everyone's dancing in the street in a musical number. I love when La La Land does it, I love when West Side Story does it, so of course I'm gonna love it here. Kermit's song Pictures in My Head is a nice somber song. I never knew how much I needed a Miss Piggy and Amy Adams duet until I got one. But then we get to the big bop. Best Original Song winner in the 2011 Oscars, Man or Muppet. This song is great, even if human Walter is Sheldon from Big Bang Theory for some reason. The Muppets get to sing and their voice actors do great. Jason Segel and Amy Adams are great in their musical numbers. Sometimes the idea of making a movie a musical just because doesn't always work, but I think it definitely works here. All the songs are good, and it makes the movie better. The new characters added in this Muppet movie are Walter, Gary, and Mary. Yes, you heard that right. The human couple's names are Gary and Mary. This is the kind of cheesiness I live for. With new characters added into franchises people already know, it's important to have balance. If you're writing completely new characters, you don't want them to just be a background character, unless you're writing them as a background character. But also, you might not want them to completely overshadow the main characters everyone already knows. After all, this movie is called The Muppets, not The Walter. Hey, wait a minute. In this movie, Walter, Gary, and Mary each have character arcs, songs, and moments. Gary has to choose between being a man or Muppet, while Walter wants to find where he belongs, which he finds in the Muppets. These characters get their time to shine in the first act, where Walter's goal is established and he's excited about the Muppets. Gary and Mary go through their arc of Gary putting off Mary until he chooses to commit to her. We get the Oscar-winning Man or Muppet song, Walter gets to whistle in the show after overcoming his fear. These characters get moments but don't overstep their boundaries, and are a good lens into the Muppet world for new viewers. These characters are all great. They're funny, they sing good musical numbers, they have good character arcs, but there's one more aspect that truly makes this movie great, and that is the Muppets themselves. The most important thing that this movie gets right is its title characters, the Muppets. It gets them right by simply stepping back and letting the Muppets be the Muppets. If you want, you could say the story having them all broken up and getting back together is a change, but that's a change to the story, not the characters themselves. The characters aren't changed or modernized, they're just the Muppets. Kermit feels like Kermit, Miss Piggy feels like Miss Piggy, Fozzie feels like Fozzie. We get the usual Muppet gags and humor. Remember how in Space Jam 2, we get all the Looney Tunes but with a bunch of other Warner Brothers properties thrown in? That doesn't happen here. This is a Muppet movie through and through. Down to the humor, the characters, the music, nothing about them is fundamentally changed. The story is literally about getting the modern world to fall in love with the Muppets again, and that's exactly what this movie does. It works so well because it doesn't change the things people already love. It only adds to them, with new characters and musical numbers, but the Muppets themselves are the same characters I love. They aren't there to sell toys or advertise other studio properties or set up a cinematic universe. The Muppets are there to be the Muppets, and that's what makes them so great. The reason the Muppets movie gets nostalgia right is simple. It balances the new with the old, and it lets the Muppets be their lovable selves. It doesn't have the new characters take over the spotlight, but the movie isn't just shoving old Muppets content in your face. It feels like a genuine movie instead of a product, with original songs that are genuinely great, and original characters with their own character arcs. And the Muppets are the same Muppets that everyone loves, including me. It's a simple story about getting the world to love the Muppets again. The Muppets don't need to change for the world. The world just needed a reminder.